All right. Good evening, everybody. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. I swear I did try to test this out ahead of time, but it does not look like the live stream is going live to the event page. So it should be going live right now to both Terry and my Facebook pages, though, from what I can tell. So if you, for some reason, are seeing this, or if you know other people who intended to watch, there were some 70 plus people who anticipated, possibly watching this. Please send them a message. I'm sorry, 83 people. It looks like the count went up a little bit today. So I was telling everybody to go to the group or to the event page because it's supposed to be live streaming there. But seeing as how there's only 9 people watching right now, it looks like I did something wrong. So we'll see how we get by with that, though. All right. So thank you so much. Obviously, we'll get to doing introductions and everything along those lines here. Sorry, I'm going to quick update this. Also available on my page. All right. All right. So the number is starting to tick up here. So basically, how we're going to kind of run this is in just a few moments. I will kind of kick off. We're going to give everybody in ballot order an opportunity to kind of spend 5 minutes introducing themselves. We were expecting 5 folks tonight. We did have 1 cancellation. So we've got the 4 of us here. So as far as the introduction order, we will go with Sean first. He's on the first ballot position. I have the second ballot position. Connie Baker's the third ballot position. She's not with us this evening. Angelo Marrero is the 4th ballot position, who's also not with us. So we'll have Terry Schechter go third tonight because she's in the 5th ballot position. Brandy Williams is the 6th ballot position. Julie Kazempel, the 7th ballot position. And then we've got Ben Smith on the 8th ballot position, and he's with us here this evening as well. So that's the order. Again, that's just the ballot order. So we're going to go in that order for the introductions. Then for the questions, I used a random sequence generator online to kind of generate a random sequence. So we will go to the Canny link. So again, if everybody, if you've got here, hopefully you've discovered the Canny link, and we'll basically be going through those questions in the order that they were submitted. Didn't look like when I checked it about a half an hour ago that really any had been upvoted. The goal was to kind of look at the most popular ones, but seeing as how they all seem to, just have the original submissions, no upvotes, we will then just go with the oldest ones first, and we will see however many we can get through. Everybody will have 5 minutes to do their introduction. Again, be able to talk about themselves, why you're running, anything along those lines. And then when we get to the actual questions, you will have 60 seconds to do your answer to each one of the questions. As we move to the introductions, basically what will happen is you will, it'll go full screen. I will pull up each individual person. You'll be the only person on screen when we do that. And then when it's time to start, there will be a 5-minute timer in the corner, so you can kind of see where you are on your 5-minute timer. So that's just for everybody. We've got about 32 people tuning in live right now across different platforms. But for the candidates and stuff along those lines, any questions? I think I covered most of all that stuff in our communications ahead of time. But before we kick off, I'll make sure I answer what I can.
I'm good.
Cool. And again, thank you so much for coming. I guess this is a first time thing. Obviously, there's some other events that'll be coming up in October for other Meet the Candidates events. And I think maybe some other groups that are going to try and organize stuff as well. But yeah, I wanted to kick this off a little earlier. So, all right. So then we'll go ahead and we will end up diving right into the 5-minute intros. So I'm going to switch over to that. And Sean, you will get to go first. So when we switch over to this, I may have to pull the rest of us off screen. And then when you're done, Sean, we'll rotate back through. All right. So here we go. Let's see how this works. All right. So there's me. Oh, that's what it is. All right. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to make Sean front and center, and then I'm going to turn the rest of us off. And Sean, I will restart your timer, so don't worry that that's ticking right now. I'm going to turn myself. All right. And Sean, go ahead.
Good afternoon, residents of Washington Township. My name is Sean Lindsay. I've been a Washington Township resident for roughly 20 years. I am a former board member. I learned a lot in my 2 years, and I hope that I can bring that knowledge and your vote to this new 3-year term that I'm running for. My biggest thing that I would have to say that I want to encourage and try to bring to the board is, if anybody hasn't seen what's been going on, not going to get too involved with it, but I want to bring public trust back. That's been a huge problem since the beginning of reorg and even the year prior. Just there, I don't think anybody in the public really can look at that board and say, "Hey, we fully believe these people. We're entrusting our students to them and to help make decisions and all that kind of stuff." So, public trust is definitely a big one that I would like to bring forward to the board. As far as policy goes, I do fully believe that we do need to have a policy committee back, because again, there's just so much that goes on in the school district that people don't understand or don't know, and policy is a big issue, as far as updating, as far as modifying to go to Strauss Esme qualifications, so to speak. So I'm definitely want to push that issue if I can. And then again, it's a hot topic. I'm not gonna vanilla it and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do something with the budget." The only thing I can say about that is that the budget has to be feasible. There's a reason it's called a budget. You are to work within your means, and quite frankly, we haven't been doing that. And I'm hoping that this year, if I'm elected, I hope that I can bring that knowledge and quite frankly, allow administration to do their job and provide insight as to where, hey, we might be able to trim something here. We might be able to, move money from one spot to help support something else that we are in dire need of. And also, again, it was said before, no co-curriculars should be eliminated. Again, the school board is representing the parents of this district, and we are also supposed to be representing the kids, and cutting those programs does not help the kids. So I'm hoping that, again, with my prior knowledge on the board as to how things have run, I will hope to continue to bring that knowledge, and I look forward to your votes and any questions. People have seen my Facebook. By all means, send me a direct message. If you don't have my email, I'll be more than happy to provide that later on. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
All right, cool. I guess I am next then. So Sean, I'm gonna take you off camera here, and then I'll throw myself on. All right. All right, flip that over. I really tried, folks, to get a moderator for tonight, but unfortunately I could not wrangle somebody, so I'm doing double duty. So we'll see how it all plays out. All right, 5 minutes. All right, so good evening, residents of Washington Township. My name is James Masotti. So running for the board. So here's the thing, right? So my daughter, Kira, started kindergarten at Herfield this past year. My wife, Caitlin, is a teacher down in Franklin Township. And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of educators in my wife's family. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife's aunts and uncles. There's a lot of educators. And so I've been around education and gotten to learn from a lot of folks, absorb a lot of things. But I would say, having lived in Washington Township for a little over 10 years now, I honestly didn't pay attention to what was going on in the schools until my daughter came in. And when I started to pay attention was, we got signed up for the kindergarten, with the school district, and started getting the district's emails. And there was a call for members to join the community task force on the budget. And I joined that and kind of learned about some of the financial difficulties. Got the opportunity to meet our superintendent, members of the board that were involved with that community, and other members of the community as well. And, through that experience, that started learning about some of what was going on, started watching some of the school board meetings, first online and then later attending in person, and was very surprised ultimately at what I saw. That led me to running. So a little bit more kind of about my background is I grew up out in Pennsylvania, and really got a start in learning about service when I was in high school. I was involved with an organization called Key Club, which is a community service organization in high school that's affiliated with Kiwanis. And from my sophomore year, I was the treasurer, to my junior year, I was the lieutenant governor for our region. And then my senior year, I was elected to be the governor for the state of Pennsylvania. And we had a few hundred schools, and I think it was like 13,000 students in the organization, and really kind of started to learn what it was like to serve on a board, at that young age. I mean, I was, I think 16 at the time. I didn't even have my driver's license yet, if I remember getting it when I was elected. So, that was kind of the start of it. Going into college, actually, when I graduated, moved to Germany first before starting school, received an appointment to the Air Force Academy, came back stateside, went to a small school in Pennsylvania before going to the Air Force Academy, realized that wasn't for me, came back, studied abroad in Japan, came back, got my first job in 2008 working for a German software company. And so ended up going over to Germany for a while and finishing my degree there, which was in international studies. But basically, fast forward to my 15-year corporate career was all in supply chain and operations, working at both small companies, but also working in, launching Amazon logistics, basically. So all the blue vans you see running around. Philadelphia was the 6th location they ever opened, and I helped open that location, helped open 2 other Amazon locations, worked at Campbell's Soup Company, ultimately wrapped up my corporate career as a vice president of supply chain for a $250 million private equity owned company. And so when it comes to, leading people, I was a bad leader at the start, right? I mean, I really was, and learned a lot about what it meant to not only be a servant leader and put people first, but also got to have experience and exposure to building budgets and understanding, financial responsibility, and do that not only in, my professional life, but also in my work life. I'm a real estate investor. I own a property management company, and in April of 2023, I left corporate and I acquired an accounting firm. And so for the last several years, I've, my team and I, and then really it's my team, because I'm not an accountant. I have a supply chain background, but I know how to read financial statements. I know how to read budgets, and I know how to help people work within their means. And so that's what inspired me to get involved in the community task force on the budget. But what inspired me to ultimately want to run for the board is the fact that, from my perspective, there is a serious lack of trust in our community. There's a lot of divisiveness among the board, among the teachers, the staff, the community. There is so much frustration and so much anger that stems back for a long time, and it results in people being unkind to each other. And this lack of kindness, and that's a core philosophy and core belief that I have, is, I think, absolutely critical to being able to rebuild the trust that our district needs, so that we can ultimately serve the students that are in our communities. All right, I'm going to flag myself there. And Terry, you are going to come up next. All right, let me get myself off. And then when you see the timer start, you're ready to rock.
Well, hi, everyone. Thanks, James, for organizing the event. Thanks to the May fellow candidates for their time and participation. I look forward to hopefully working with at least some of you this January. And thanks to everyone who's watching live or who catches this after the effect. In case you don't know, or maybe you don't know how to pronounce it, I'm Terry Schechter. I'm a candidate for the Washington Township Board of Education. I've lived here for 16 years. I'm a mom of 3. My girls are 10, 8, and 3. I'm running because what happens in our schools matters now for our kids today. I'm currently serving as board president for the Margaret E. Hagan Free Public Library. Between my board work and my professional career, I've really learned how to listen, build plans, and get things done. If you support me with your vote this November, here's my plan that I bring to the board. First, I want to formalize a strategic plan or outline clear and measurable goals. The New Jersey School Board Association partners with local boards all the time to create multi-year strategic plans I've actually linked some really great examples on the resource page of my campaign website. At the library, we put in a multi-year strategic plan and used it to track big goals alongside the actual practical steps that deliver sustained success. Just one example is we were able to measure and respond to a significant rise in program interest and attendance. I want to bring some of that same discipline to the board and make long-term, ongoing strategic planning a board requirement. Second, I want to strengthen our clear, consistent, and transparent communication. We've seen some improvement with more regular committee updates, but too often items fall off the agenda, or it's unclear if something was resolved or just forgotten. Transparency is the bare minimum. It's the foundation of trust, and that trust does need to be rebuilt. I plan to leverage my project management experience and publish short executive summaries that make it easy for the community to stay informed and engaged. Honest, frequent communication turns skeptics into partners. I'll bring that collaborative spirit to my participation as a board member. Third, I want to make meeting discussions clearer and more accessible. Too many meetings run long without clear outcomes. They waste everyone's time, and it makes it harder for the community to track progress. I've run many meetings and learned that small habits matter. Restating what was said, summarizing key points, naming who owns the next steps, and setting deadlines, those simple practices prevent stagnation and keep projects moving. Personally or professionally, I know that for plans to matter, you need to commit to doing the work that follows. I really don't think that there's any easy answers, but what I can promise is clarity about the trade-offs, what's gained, what's at risk, and who will be the impacted people. That kind of clarity leads to better, more defensible decisions and flexibility to course correct when needed. Before I close, I did want to acknowledge a painful reality. Just yesterday, yet another community suffered the unthinkable with a school shooting. I cannot imagine the suffering those families are facing. There are larger issues than local school districts can solve, but some of these headlines remind me why I feel called to serve as a volunteer on the board. As a mom, every morning when my girls leave for the bus, there is zero doubt in my mind that every adult they encounter, teachers, bus drivers, aides, lunch staff, resource officers, nurses, administrators, and more, would instantly and without hesitation stand between them and harm. I consider that trust absolutely priceless. Whether we agree, disagree, the people who serve this district will always receive respectful treatment from me. In real life, I've had amazing interactions, but what I've observed on social media isn't okay. And worse, it's not helping. There's always going to be some tension when difficult decisions need to be made, but there's a way to manage normal, healthy tension with productive conversations and mutual respect. Constructive criticism, thoughtful questions, and vigorous debate are a part of a healthy democracy, but personal attacks and harassment are not. Words are cheap and easy, but if elected, I will work to repair divisions, model civility, engage in productive debates, and hold myself and others accountable to the same conversations. Ensure they remain focused on student and their outcomes and not insults. Tonight, I ask for your trust to bring clear planning, strong project management, and steady accountability back to our district. I welcome your questions, engagement, and hopefully your vote this November. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Ben, you are going to be next. Again, once you see the timer reset here, you will have your 5 minutes once you get started.
Good evening. My name is Ben Smith. I'm running for Washington Township School Board for a 3-year term. Just a little bit on my background. I've lived in Township for over 20 years now, lived in the state of New Jersey for over 30. I am an attorney. I have been an attorney for over 25 years. My specialization is in the area of workers' comp, and in that area, I represent numerous townships across the state. It's given me the opportunity to attend many school board meetings, many municipal meetings, and many JIF meetings. Going forward, our school is now ranked, our school board, our school system is ranked 288 in the state of New Jersey. That's unacceptable. the board needs to be run in a professional manner. And if I'm elected as a school board member, my mission will be accessibility, integrity, and transparency to the parents, to the township residents, and the students. Our number one priority in this as a school board member is to make sure that our students get an adequate education. And unfortunately, our rankings for mathematics, for language arts have precipitously fallen. But at the same time, the budget keeps going up and up and up. Can we increase the budget? That's the issue. Most likely not. I mean, there's a statutory raise that we can raise taxes by, but the taxes have gone up for years and years and years, but our scores have gone down and down and down. Why is that? But when you look at the school board as itself, the school board needs to be a professional body. It needs to be run professionally. It needs to have accountability to the residents. The infighting on the board and in the public represents just how chaotic it is. I think that we most likely need a clean slate to start over. There's been a long, long history of animosity between certain groups about what's going to happen and what's going forward. To move forward, we need to stop that. We need to move forward in a cohesive manner. And that means running these board meetings in a professional manner. We also need to help our schools in other ways than just monetarily. We need to ensure that we have an esprit de corps in our school. I was in the military for a long time. I served in the United States Army. And a lot of times being proud of your school and having pride going forward is not about money. It's about a feeling that you have. And those kind of things need to be instilled. And they need to be instilled by the board. They need to be instilled by our administration. And they need to be instilled by our teachers. But I think that going forward, Washington Township has an excellent opportunity to right its ship and move forward. And I look forward to your support. Thank you.
All right, we'll bring everybody back on real quick. We'll flip back over to the main one. All right. So we will thank you everybody for your intros. Really appreciate that. I was trying to get the live stream back up and running on the Facebook event. I cannot get it to connect for some reason, so I don't know what's going on with there. So again, hopefully everybody's found their way to somewhere. It looks like most people are watching it on Terry's page, which is why I told people to go show up to in the event. If they try to click there, hopefully they at least go and look at the descriptions. But we'll get the recording posted somewhere for everybody to share and all that stuff too. So, but all right. So what we're going to do now is we will transition over to the questions. So again, the questions, we're going to ask them in the order that they were submitted on the Canny link. So the first question is going to be, and again, I'll pull it up here on screen so everybody can see what the first one is going to be. So it's, do you feel there needs to be policy in place to hold board accountable for their actions and requirements of the position? So that'll be the first question. And then going through, again, the order for people responding for this one is going to be Ben, then Terry, then Sean, then myself. So again, we're gonna flip to another screen with a 1 minute countdown, and then again I'll pull everybody off, and Ben, you'll have the stage for a minute, and then we'll kind of rotate through. All right, so we'll switch over to here, pull the question back up for you. Again, I will reset the timer in just a second.
Hey,
Doesn't need to be a policy in place to hold the board accountable for their actions and requirements of the position. First off, you do have accountability if there is any serious criminal activity, employing, with vendors, maybe appointing vendors that shouldn't be, placing people into positions that are related to you or things like that. But you remember, the board itself is really a voluntary board. Yes, we run for that board, but there's no pay for that board. So how can you hold people accountable for those actions? I think you can hold people accountable if they're placed on a certain committee on the board, and you can take them off of those committees if you feel that they're not doing their job on those certain committees. Thank you.
So I'm not sure if a policy is really going to get people what they want, right? So as Ben sort of shared, right, there are ethics violations. There are some due process things already in place. The best thing everyone can do, I think, is vote this November and show up to meetings. I think people should be held accountable, but unfortunately, some of those wheels turn really slowly. I think I'm more of a carrot, or encourage people to behave in the right way than a stick person and going down that path, because I think it can take a long time. So I think it's about modeling good behavior yourself, participating with kindness and impact, and engaging people in the right way. Again, I don't think having a policy to hold people accountable is the worst idea. I think that certainly could help, but again, right, like, there are people who think that we're not following policies currently. So I think the best thing is just good behavior yourself.
I can't see if my time started. I got the live block in front of me. I'm sorry. If it is, okay, I'll be brief about this. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do as a board that we can put a policy in to hold other board members accountable. I'm going to take a little advantage being a board member. There are articles in NJSBA that do not allow policing of board members, amongst ourselves, which is severely frustrating, because there are actions that have been done that, quite frankly, people should have been removed or stepped down, which has been a very, very big point of contention with me when I was on the board. The actions of a few really soiled the reputation of what a board is supposed to be. And unfortunately, there is nothing we are allowed to do. So in that regard, would I love to be able to have a policy in place to, quote unquote, hold people accountable? Absolutely. But per NJSBA standards, we are not. So really, it comes down to what Terry said: act mature, make the right decisions, and stop the infighting.
All right. Start the clock on myself here. All right. So yeah, I mean, it's funny to hear the four of us kind of all largely say the same thing, I think, but there, a lot of people, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, think that the board has a lot more flexibility and control than what realistically exists. There is a lot of things that are going on in our school district that are honestly things that actually need to be changed in Trenton, right? And not just at our local school board level. So should there be a way to hold board members accountable? Absolutely. But like others have already said, creating a policy or something along those lines is not what's going to drive that. I think having open communication, I think having trust, and people that are going to be able to disagree in a constructive way is what's ultimately going to get us there, absent lobbying Trenton. All right. So I'm going to quick bring everybody back. Bring everybody back. There we go. And then we will, so for our next question, we are going to have, for current and former board members, what is one thing you would have done differently when you served, and why? So this was a question that was asked. It was on the order. Mr. Lindsay, you're the only one, so you're gonna get a minute to answer this one, and then we'll bounce over to the next question, I guess. All right. We'll get you on the main screen here. We'll get the rest of us turned off, and then we'll restart your timer. Whoops.
Okay, sorry, the timer keeps moving on me. As a former board member, I will say this: I truly wish that or not wish, I should have spoken up more. That has definitely been a subject that has been approached to me by multiple people that said, "Hey, you should speak up more. You should put yourself in that position more as far as speaking up when something doesn't seem right or something's off." So I definitely will be speaking up more, making my voice heard, because again, I don't represent just myself. I represent the district. I represent the parents. I represent the residents. So in that regard, that is definitely a flaw that I had, where I kind of kept quiet on a lot of things. And that's definitely something I'm going to bring forward if I'm elected, that I will be speaking up more and making my voice heard, because again, I represent the district. I represent the parents. I do not represent myself. Thank you.
All righty. So there's a lot more clicking involved than I realized, guys. So apologize, bear with me. Nope, sorry. All right, so our next question: what do you feel the district needs to do in order to retain staff and attract new staff? So the order for this one, we're going to go Terry, then Ben, then Sean, and then myself. All right, so who has to go first? Terry. All right, so once I get everybody off, Terry, I will restart your timer to 1 minute, and then you'll be able to rock and roll.
So obviously there's some just easy blocking, tackling things. We need to have competitive salary, competitive benefits, but I think that what's going to be the differentiator for Washington Township is we really have to work on our culture. We really have to do some of those things about making sure that through our actions and not through our words, that the staff of this district really feel our support. Unfortunately, we're not always going to have great messages, but the instability and the confusion around how things are communicated and when things are communicated, right? Like a lot of these things, especially around budget season, can be communicated ahead of time, right? They're very cyclical and predictable. We need the first item, not when you Google us, not to be an Inquirer article. That's what I think we need to really improve the culture of the district.
I agree with Terry that we do have to have competitive salaries and competitive benefits, but to improve our retention and attract new staff really has to go to other issues. We need to have a place that people are proud to come to work in. We need to have teachers who say, when they say, "Oh, I work at Washington Township schools," they're not saying, "Oh, I work at Washington Township." No, they're proud to work at Washington Township. They want to stay here. Money, as I already said, is not everything. I have 3 sisters who are all teachers. My grandmother was a teacher. One of my sisters is a teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina. One of my sisters is a teacher in Louisiana. The salaries down there are atrocious, but here we have pretty good salaries. I think our average salary is $76,000. We need a culture, though. That's the most important thing, and I think that's what this district and this township have lost, is an esprit de corps, where these people feel pride not only in where they work, but also in their students.
I think I spoke about this last time when I ran for the 1-year term. Communication. I'm hearing things about, oh, teachers aren't allowed to speak to the board members. They're not allowed to talk to us. Yes, you are. There are things you can communicate anything you want to us. We just cannot personally, as board members, take action. Anybody is more than welcome to call us, talk to us, email us. And we then, as chain of command, we then present that information to the superintendent, who then would, provide action on said situation. This whole thing of not being able to communicate, that's been the biggest problem. I mean, I don't like the fact that I hear teachers are spending money out of their own pocket for supplies. That shouldn't happen, period. So again, if you talk to us, at least if you even just send issues to us and chain of command, send it to the superintendent, and then he will take charge from there.
All right, let me get this timer going. All right. So from my perspective, again, trust is a huge aspect for me. And ultimately, I spoke at a board meeting once and talked about the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. And at the end of the day, whether we're talking about our team as a whole, right? It's the teachers, it's the staff, it's the faculty, it's the administration, and to be honest, it's the community as well. And right now, there is no trust. And when there is no trust, people aren't committed to the vision because they're not committed to their team. Everybody feels like they're playing their own game and that we're not working towards a common goal. And so, how do you bring that trust back? To a large extent, I think that, we got to work on open communication. I think we need to get more community involvement. And I think that, I don't have time to keep saying. So anyway, that's where we're at. All right. Let's bring everybody back in here for the next question, which is going to be, how do you feel about the comments made by the teaching staff about the superintendent? Do you believe them and will you support them? So for this question, we are going to have Sean, Ben, James, and Terry. So again, Sean, once I get everybody off, I will restart your 1-minute timer. I'll try to get the right question on the screen, and then we will get rocking and rolling. All right, let's pull Sean on the main stage. Sorry, Sean, you're muted. We can't hear you right now.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna restart your timer.
Thank you. I can't answer this question because I haven't heard very much in the way of negative against the superintendent outside of what I've heard from negotiations, among other things. I mean, I'm not saying that the comments made are wrong or they're inaccurate. The problem is I've only heard one side. I haven't heard the other side, and I don't make decisions only hearing one side of the story. I would love to hear both sides constructively and professionally to make a determination. And I'll be honest with you, if the comments made about the superintendent are accurate, yes, then he will have to answer for them. But if they're not accurate, we need to move on from it and stop with the land blasting, so to speak, that's been happening to him. So again, once I hear both sides of the story, I'll be able to give you a better answer. But as of right now, I can't.
Sorry, Ben, click the wrong button.
All right.
All right. Let me get myself off and then you can go ahead and start.
All right. My comments are basically going to follow Sean's. I don't know enough or seen enough of these supposed comments about Dr. Hibbs, but if I was on the board and they were presented to me, as long as they're professional, they must be taken into consideration and a determination made as to them. Unfortunately, I think a lot to do with Dr. Hibbs is generated a lot of problems from the board, and it has caused a lot of distrust all the way around. And I think that does have to stop. Thank you.
So I plan to approach all comments the same as I will approach everything as a board member, with curiosity, assuming the best intent of all parties, and I'll follow the due process. I'll do the best I can with all the information available. I won't prejudge. So that's my plan. I've followed closely. I intend to continue to do so and take the evidence as it comes. Thanks.
All right. So from my perspective, I have heard quite a bit of feedback from the staff, and what I can tell you is, I've been in those shoes. Like I kind of mentioned, when I started my career, my very first leadership position, I was not a great leader, and that feedback made its way back to my leaders, my HR team, and people had to have difficult conversations with me, and I was put on a corrective action plan. And while it was extremely frustrating at the time, and I felt like I was blindsided, and hit by a bus, it was honestly, in terms of my professional career, one of the best things that ultimately ever ended up happening to me. And so I do think that there is a respectful way to address, what might be some of the concerns about how the superintendent may interact with staff. Again, I've only heard one side of the story. And so, but I think there's a conversation that needs to be had there. All right. So let's see. Go back to our next question. So I guess there really is way more clicking here than I expected. All right. So next one, the superintendent has been back for 2 weeks and is recommending that our board hire an assistant BA over budget and approve $25,000 in his merit goals. Do you think this is fiscally responsible decision? So we will have the, shoot, I lost track of which one. I think this is the one that we're on. All right, yeah. So we're gonna have, I will go first, then Terry, then Sean, then Ben. So, sorry, I'm trying to figure out a way to not get lost on my list of things here. All right. So let me flip over. We'll get everybody else. All right, I'll pause that, get that. Let's get the right question up so I don't mess that up again. There's that. Turn the ticker off. And Ben, before you go, I'll get this off your face. So get everybody else off here. All right. So to address the question about, is it fiscally responsible to, bring somebody in over budget? I think I don't know enough of the situation. What I can tell you is that there's a couple things that are challenging. One is I don't honestly know what the market is right now. I haven't had to hire a business administrator. And two is, all the reasons we've already talked about running for school board, right? All the reasons why we've had resignations. We have a culture problem right now. And I can tell you, as an employee, if you've ever gone to look for a job, if you've ever gone and done research on the company that you're applying to a job for, or gone on Glassdoor or any of these other places and seen negative reviews, it tends to shy you away from wanting to go work there unless you get a big hook. So I think that's one of the challenges we have. To answer the question on the superintendent, I think the goals were not well written, but if he did complete them, his contract says we need to pay him. All right, Terry's next.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of pieces to this question, but I think the heart of it speaks to fiscal responsibility. I'm not sure, again, some of these pieces, I wouldn't necessarily agree with how it's framed. We need talented people to run the district. We don't have a lot of details around exact personnel and the replacement of the role. Hopefully those details would drive my decision and vote as a board member. As far as we have to honor our contracts. Again, those goals were approved and voted on by the board. If the employee, whether it be the superintendent or any teacher or assistant in the school district, completed the goals that were assigned to them and as part of their contract, they earn that pay. We should honor our contracts. It's going to cost a lot more if people have to fight us for it, where the lawyers always win in that financial battle.
Yeah, I spoke about this at the meeting last week, or this past Tuesday. If anyone would like to watch it, please, by all means, WTTV Productions, go watch what I said. Again, it's a contractually obligated clause in his contract that states if he provides the evidence that shows successful completion of said goals, the man has to be paid. The fact that it was voted down really sets a tone beyond what I think people are seeing. In regards to the assistant BA, again, not knowing the data as to what, I've heard the number like 69,000, 75,000, but that could potentially be the median. We don't know if this person has 25 years of experience. We don't know how many certifications they might have, how diversified they are. So all those factors have to be taken into account before we make any rash decisions.
As to the merit goals, everybody seems to be in agreement on this. Whether or not these goals were drafted, could have been drafted in a better fashion. It appears that they could have been, but if they were met, then contractually they need to be paid. We're already going to face one massive lawsuit. We don't need any more. As to the hiring of an assistant business administrator over budget, I think, unfortunately, at this point, we probably do need to really stick to the budgets that we have. It's not a good look when we're cutting special education assistants, but then paying over budget for a business administrator.
All right. So let's see. Next question is going to be, please give us a detailed explanation. Keep in mind, detailed. You've only got 60 seconds. That's a reminder for me because I'm terrible at that. What you think your role as a board member will be from start to finish as the 26-27 budget is formulated next spring, presented to the public, and voted on by the full board. So for this one, we're going to go Sean, Ben, James, and then Terry. So we'll get, again, Sean will get flipped over here. And we'll get you on. Once we get everybody off, I will restart the timer for you. And then you will be able to go, and I'll quickly get the question updated too.
My role as a board member when it comes to this budget is going to see where exactly our need. Well, we already know where our needs are. We definitely need to keep all of our teachers. We need to keep our support staff, as many as we possibly can. I would love to be able to dive into the budget as I've done before. And, one thing I have to understand is that the superintendent is the one that puts the budget together with the business administrator, and it's pretty much his financial wisdom that allows this budget to go forward or not. Now, granted, can we make suggestions to him? Absolutely. And he's always been open to those suggestions. And then it's up to the board as a whole to determine that budget, if it's something that we want to pass forward, or if we want to say, hey, you know what, let's pump the brakes, let's bring it back and see if we can find some other way to rearrange some things to make it more sustainable.
Yeah, as to the upcoming budget, I think as a board member, we work with the administration, work with the superintendent and the business administrator, but also go line by line through many of these things. We're going to have a hard time coming up next year, again, if we don't get a change in Trenton. If we do get a change in Trenton, you might have a little bit easier time. but it's going to be a concise review of the budget going forward. We don't have any reserves left, and we need to make sure that we get the best education for our students going forward within the budget means.
All right. All right. So as it was kind of already mentioned, in terms of the role of the board, really, again, the administration has to own the budget, the creating of the budget. As a board, part of our responsibility is creating the framework or the perspective of what the priorities of the district need to be for the administration to take into consideration, and they craft a budget that meets and achieves those goals. So I think that's part of it is, we need to be having, I mean, the current board needs to be having those conversations. By the time we get elected, hopefully like the actual budget, that directive is already set. So speaking to the question specifically about like the 26, the budget that's coming up for the 26-27 school year, I really feel that a big part of our responsibility as a board is to figure out more ways, more opportunities to reach out to the community and educate them about what is and is not in the budget and why those decisions were made. Because I think that's what's holding people back.
I think it's important just to clarify that the budget is only one element of our overall fiscal state, right? Of the overall financial stability of the district. Personally, I found a lot more value in reviewing the annual comprehensive financial reports, and I've been reviewing those back about 10 years. There's no surprises coming. We're getting a reduction in funds from the state. It's just going to be a matter of how much we have to absorb. And I've never sat across from a CEO, a CFO, having large strategy conversations about where we're going to find cuts, where we're looking at line items. We need to be reviewing trends, understanding where we went wrong in the past, finding successes and misses from other districts to make large changes and plan for the future. My plan is to use the strategic plan to outline those priorities, review assumptions, insist on transparency, and vote with that whole holistic fiscal picture in mind.
All right. And what I think might end up being our last question, we'll see, because we'll have, I don't think we're going to get through two more questions. So this might be our last one. So, is your candidacy focused on serving the community? And can you assure us that your personal business company or business/company will remain completely separate from board decisions? So again, for this one, we're going to go Terry, Ben, James, and then Sean. So Terry's first.
So I think we're talking about, there we go. So again, I'm called to volunteer as a board as a mom. I think my professional experience can really help. I work for a large corporation, so I will not financially benefit in any way that I know of. I don't have any personal conflicts in the district. I don't have any family members who work for Washington Township School District. So again, my driving force is not just the success of the school district for the community, for just my kids, but everyone's kids. And also when the school district thrives, we know the businesses in towns thrive, the property values increase. So I really hope to improve the environment for everyone who's in Washington Township.
I think this one's a good question. My only focus is serving the community on the Board of Education. Can I assure you that my personal business and company remain completely separate from board decisions? Absolutely, yes. As an attorney, if I had any business interests that were in conflict with the board, I would also be risking my law license instead. In fact, if I'm elected to the board, I'll probably actually lose some money by going forward, because I will have some cases that I would have to actually have my firm exit from. I have no relatives in the district. I have no relatives who work in the district, so I have no issues as to that. But again, my only reason for running for the board is to try to get this back on track, get us to a place where we're proud of our township again.
All right. So again, my business is fully virtual and remote. My clients are all over the country. And to be frank, I don't think I know for a fact, I don't have a single client even in the state of New Jersey. So as of right now, I get no financial benefit from being on the board, and, certainly have no expectations of getting any contracts or submitting any contracts. We don't support school districts or anything along those lines. In terms of being able to have any sort of gain coming from the board. Since some other folks kind of mentioned conflicts on this, again, because my wife is a teacher in New Jersey, although she's not in the district, it is my understanding from having spoken with past board members that would conflict me from the negotiations committee. But beyond that, other than negotiations, I would not have any other conflicts where I would not be able to vote.
Actually, right now, as it stands, I have no businesses. I have no companies that I am affiliated with, anything in the school district. I am here to serve the community. I'm here to serve the kids. I'm here to serve the district. I have no relatives that work in the district either. So there's nothing that can conflict me from doing my job professionally and accurately and to the best of my ability. I'm here to do I'm here to do a job. I'm volunteering my time to try to make this district great and try to bring it back to what it once was, which was a premier community. And that's where I stand on that.
All righty then. All right, so we got everybody back. So I think that is going to be our last question. We've only got about 2 more minutes. What I would say to everybody though is, if you're open to it, sorry, I'm trying to look at this other screen here. I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 other questions that look like they were submitted that we did not get a chance to answer. So I'd really encourage everybody, all the candidates, to go look at that Canny link with where all the questions are listed. And I would really encourage you to, come up with answers, whether you want to type them up, make a video, whatever you want to do. Either share them on your own page or feel free to post them in the event description so that people can, come back and ultimately see kind of, what answers everybody would have had to those questions. So again, thanks to Sean, Terry, Ben, you guys for jumping into this when I, sent out a message being interested in trying to organize something. So I really appreciate that. And I hope that everybody has a great rest of your evening. I'll probably see most of you at a future board meeting and definitely at a future Meet the Candidates event. So
thanks, everyone.
Thank you, James, for putting this on.